Christmas was yesterday, and look what my husband got me. This gift was not at all a surprise. It is what I asked for, and we agreed on practical gifts only this year, and that's why he got a whole bunch of socks. I asked for this Kebonnixs incubator because I have borrowed one from a friend for 4 cycles of eggs, and I'm very familiar with it, I'm very comfortable with it, and I am very impressed with it. So let's unbox my new Kebonnixs together, and I will tell you how it works and give you my honest opinion of it. Here's your instructions. These do exist online in case you lose them, but I try to put all of my instructions for my appliance and gadgets and gizmos into one big gallon Ziploc baggie, and it stays in my bedside table. First out of the box is the lid, and here's the tray. Super simple. The Kebonnixs incubator will hold 12 eggs at a time. If you try hard and believe in yourself, you can fit 13 or 14 or 15 eggs in there. This is not my recommendation, it is just something that I have done. Don't take my advice. But I did just have a 100% hatch rate with 13 baby chicks in the incubator, and they hatched on Christmas Eve. Let's talk about the components of your incubator. First is your egg turning table. So it will fit 12 eggs in there, and this will automatically rotate several times a day. Just like a mother hen would rotate the eggs inside of her nest, this is doing the same thing. What's really neat about the Kebonnixs is that it will stop rotating the eggs on the last 3 days of the incubation period. The last 3 days, they don't need to be moved at all. And so to help you not have to worry about changing a setting or taking this out, you can leave this in the entire incubation period and it will not turn it automatically. I love that they take a lot of that planning and forethought off of your burden of responsibility. Here's the dome that covers the whole thing. It holds in the heat and the humidity. It also has notches inside the dome so that you know when it clicks and sits inside those little notches that you have it completely sealed and you're not going to lose heat or moisture. Let's go plug it in and I'll show you how to set this up into the right settings and get started. Oh, also, my husband bought me 24, 25, 28 eggs as a part of my Christmas gift, and they are some birds that I have been wanting to raise and hatch for a very long time. So let me go show you those bad boys. Welcome to my bathroom. If you've been with us, you've been here before when I have hatched multiple chicks, and I actually have some little babies right next to me in a brooder. I do keep them in my bathroom for a while. It's the best way to control the humidity and the temperature in here, and it's also the best way to keep them from the dog and the children and all the visitors that love to pick up and squeeze baby chicks. Here is my friend's incubator. It's a Kebonnixs as well, and since the babies just hatched 2 nights ago, it's really dirty. There's broken eggshells in here, little bits of wing tuft, and some leftover remnants of whatever is in the eggshell that is not very pleasant to look at. So I'm going to clean it out real quick. All right, here's the old incubator and it's all cleaned out, and I am gonna hold on to it for one more cycle of eggs because this only holds 12 eggs and my husband did buy me 2 dozen eggs. So I'm gonna need both incubators for this next incubation cycle. So with that, let's add another one. Let's get all the components plugged into each other and make sure that it is working, and I'm gonna leave it to heat up a little bit before I put any eggs in there. All right, this little cord that comes from the machine is gonna plug into the back right here. This is what is gonna be controlling the turntable. Now let's add the power cord to it. I'm so glad the baby chicks are sleeping through this. They are normally so incredibly loud. All right, a nice long cord. Could reach a lot of places if you need to put it up high and you're not close to a outlet. Okay. This is gonna plug in right here. And this goes into your outlet. Voila. Oh, that's loud. I'm gonna do a top-down view of the incubator so you know what all the buttons are for and you know how to correctly set your temperature and humidity. Here's the top of the Kebonnixs. This right here is showing you the temperature, the internal temperature of your Kebonnixs. It's going to automatically set it at 99.5. Every once in a while, you'll see the temperature go up or down. If you have taken the lid off to candle an egg, the temperature will go down, but as soon as you put the dome back on, it quickly rises back to the correct temperature. Eggs need to be kept at 99.5 or 100.5, somewhere in that range. This right here, this tells you your relative humidity. It is not controlling the humidity. So what you're going to do to help control the humidity is two things. This right here is a water reservoir, and this leads to an internal water reservoir, and you don't have to lift the lid every time you need to add water. You can simply pour water in from this outside component and it travels to the inside, and that will raise and lower your humidity. Right here, this button right here, this is to help you release too much moisture or to keep the moisture in. I usually keep mine right here in the middle, and that will help it to stay at 50% humidity. Really low right now because I haven't added any water into that reservoir. So let's do that now. You'll see that the water level goes down as it travels to the indoor water reservoir. You can fill it more or less, and if you accidentally add too much, simply open the valve on the back to let some of the humidity out. You want to keep your humidity at 50%. The last 3 days of incubation, you're going to raise it to 70. So you can add even more water, and you can close this top valve right there to get that humidity way up to 70. And look, we're already getting close to 99.5. Chicken eggs will incubate for 21 days, give or take a day or two. Some breeds, like Copper Morans, will go a little bit longer, and my birds have always hatched 1 day early. I'm not sure why, but it has been 1 day early. Maybe the mama is sitting on them for a little while before I collect them, and she's already started the incubation process. Now, the last 3 days, you're gonna crank that humidity up to 70, and you are not going to take that lid off, and you're not gonna candle your eggs, and you're not gonna rotate your eggs at all. Like I said earlier, the machine stops rotating the eggs for you on the last 3 days, but you should also not disturb them manually at all. If you are doing back-to-back incubations like I have been doing, you need to reset the machine to start over again at 21 days. Let me show you how I do it. What's really neat is that you have a lot of reminders right here what these 3 buttons do. So to reset it to 21 days, you have to push menu OK plus the minus button. Let's do that now. You're gonna hold it for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. And now if you push right here, you can see how many days are left. I have 21 days left. When you turn it on, it should automatically start. Yes, we're on day 21, so it's gonna start counting down backwards from right there. All right, we are sure that we have 21 days and counting. Let's make sure that this tray right here is rotating correctly. If we're not rotating the eggs, we risk a very low hatching rate. So to do that, I'm simply going to hit the plus button right there, egg turning test run. Just trying. And it is not turning. So that means that I need to go in there and figure out what I did wrong when I assembled it. Let's see if this one is working. Aha, that one is rotating correctly. Let's figure out why this one isn't. First thing I want to do is make sure that I have this plugged in correctly. I also need to make sure that my lid is actually closed. If it is not closed, it may not do it. Let's see if that was a problem. That wasn't the problem. So let's see, that is in there. You know what, I didn't put that lid on. I found the missing component. This I left in the box when I was unboxing it. There's only one way that this fits on here. Where's the thing? So those should lock into the yellow pieces, like little alligator teeth grooving together. All right. We have success. Look at the minus button right here. This is gonna turn on this light bulb right here. And this is how you're gonna candle your eggs. It is super bright. And it's nice to have it built into the machine so I don't have to candle very far away and risk leaving this lid open for a very long time. While I'm waiting for both of my incubators to warm up and I want to make sure that it can maintain a proper humidity level before I put anybody in there, let me show you the eggs that my husband bought for me and try to remember all the breeds that are in there. I'm also going to wash them and I'll talk about why. Okay, so here they are. I have a little bit more than a dozen in here and another dozen in here. I bought these locally. If you have the chance to buy your eggs locally, it is a huge benefit because shipping eggs comes with all kinds of risks. The biggest thing you see is not actually broken eggs, which you would think that would be the main problem, but it's actually that because of all of the movement of the packages en route, the air sac of the egg can become detached from the wall. The air sac needs to grow and change with the growing embryo in that egg, and that can be disrupted by the shipping process. Some people have amazing luck, so I don't want to deter you from trying something, but it can be a huge financial investment to buy eggs online. These were $30 per dozen, so these were $60 for 2 dozen eggs. You're gonna pay more for rare breeds and less for the more common or less fancy birds, but some of these are a little bit on the fancy side. So let me open them up and show them to you. Also, I apologize for the background noise. The baby chicks did wake up. What I have in here, the dark green ones, those are obviously olive eggers. Now, olive eggers are kind of neat. They are called like the mutts. All the Easter eggers and the Americanas and Aracanas and olive eggers and all of those, the crossbreeding and the genetics that go into making different colored eggshells are just fascinating. Now, obviously on the inside, all of these eggs are the same, just like humans. We may be different colors on the outside, but on the inside, we are all God's children. And so it's interesting to see the copies of the genes that the father and that the mother passed down and how that affects the egg color. So an olive egger has been a cross between a Americana or Araucana and a brown egg layer. So if you had a regular brown egg layer like your Orpingtons, and then you had an Easter egger or a blue egg layer like the cream crested leg bar, you could potentially raise a pullet that would eventually lay this color egg. And so it's a little bit, some people call them mongrels because they're crossbred, but I think it is fascinating. So in this first set of eggs, I have some Orpington eggs, olive eggers. I also have Bielefelds. Now this is a German chicken that's kind of like an up-and-comer, and a lot of people are really enjoying laying them because Bielefelds are a multi-purpose breed. They are huge, they can get 10 pounds, so they can be great meat birds, but they have great personalities and they're really good egg layers. So a lot of homesteaders and chicken farmers are trying to keep Bielefelds because they are just great to get along with, and they're really reliable egg layers. By the way, it's spelled like this. Isn't that funny? Anyway, I had to look up like how to pronounce it so I didn't feel like an idiot. But let me give you a close-up of this egg because, oh my goodness, not only is it an olive egg, but it is speckled. So that means that somewhere in these lines we have a well summer that donated some of these genes to making this beautiful colored egg. I'm so scared I'm gonna break these. Now right here, we have a copper Moran. The copper Moran is a very, very dark egg. This one is also speckled, so I'm assuming that there's a well summer in there that donated some genes at some point. But what a funny looking, what a great looking, beautiful egg. One of my goals is to have like the Pinterest worthy rainbow color scape of eggs in my kitchen. I want the blues and the greens and the chocolates and the whites and the creams and the pinks. And so by buying a couple of these special breeds, hopefully I'm gonna get that rainbow Pinterest worthy look. This egg right here, I am gonna wash this later and I'll get into the specifics of that. But this is from a cream crested leg bar. Now this is one of your most reliable blue egg layers. It was covered, or it was bred with an olive egger. So I may not get this blue tint from any pullets that, if this is a girl. I only have one of these. Well, it would be fine if it was a boy. I love roosters. I am very curious to see the crossover between what an olive egger donated or gave by way of genes and the cream crested leg bar. Cream crested leg bars are also a beautiful bird. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna gently lay this. I have a towel in my sink. This is my bathroom sink, by the way. And I'm just going to wash it with that towel in there so that I don't risk cracking it. If I have any cracks whatsoever on these eggs, I'm not gonna try to incubate them. This is a pullet egg, so it's very small. There is a chance that this one will not be a viable hatching egg because pullets are young birds and they don't lay very big eggs and they're not quite mature yet. But this is an ice bar, which is a beautiful chicken, and it lays the most beautiful green eggs. This was also covered by a olive egg or rooster, so I have multiple genes being passed down that will lay this bluish green color. The rest of the eggs that I have in here are brown egg layers like Orpingtons, and they were covered by an olive egg. All of the roosters that donated to these hatching eggs are all olive eggers, and so it'll be very interesting to see what kind of color combinations we get, because we have a very light Orpington egg right here, and then we have a slightly darker Bielefeld right here, but both were covered by an olive egger, and so I don't really know what color eggs I'm going to get from the pullets that I raised in this batch. Now, a couple of these eggs are dirty, and that happens from time to time. My eggs that I just pulled out from my own coop of my mature birds are very dirty, and it's because the donkey went into my very large coop and ate all of the shavings out of there that I had in there, and my chickens have stopped roosting on their bars and have started to sleep in their nesting, in their brooder boxes, and so they do get covered with poop from time to time. So what I'm gonna do is wash this off, because the heat and the humidity that are in these incubators is gonna be a great breeding ground for bacteria. And I want to give my birds the best possible start at life. The general rule is that you don't have to wash your clean eggs. They are covered with a bloom that helps to protect from any kind of bacterial activity happening inside the egg. But if you have to wash one of them, it's generally a good idea to wash all of them. That is what I have been told, and I believe the people on the internet from this certain chicken website that they're telling me the truth. So, you do you. I'm gonna follow the rules. What's interesting about washing your eggs at this point is that you can also do a preliminary float test. Now, as eggs age, if they're not eaten or if they are not incubated, then they start to produce a gas that fills the eggshell, and pressure will build and build and build. And as those gases accumulate, the egg will rise up a little bit like that one. Now, I was warned that this egg is 3 weeks old, so all these others are laying down flat. So I now have very low hopes that this is a viable egg, but I'm gonna try it anyway because I have room. So clean and shiny. While you are incubating your eggs, you can check their viability around day 5 to day 7. You should be able to see a little blip and some veining, some like spider-like veining of red veins. If you don't see any, candle again in a day, and if there are none of those signs of life, remove the egg. So this one right here, I just did a little float test and it did float a little bit, and that tells me that gases are building inside this egg and it may not be viable. I'm gonna check to make sure that it is actually fertilized and that it has started to grow and develop, and if it hasn't, then those gases will continue to expand and build pressure, and it can actually explode inside my incubator. So I actually candle on day 5, again on day 7, I candle again on day 10 because I have seen a few quitters and a couple of red rings in my time incubating eggs. And if you don't remove them, first of all, they smell horrible, but imagine if they exploded inside your incubator and you're contaminating the rest of the eggs in there. Not only am I going to be cautious to be hopeful about this cream crested leg bar right here, I am going to be very cautious in my expectations of these copper Morans. Copper Morans notoriously have a low hatch rate. We are starting to see that we think it is the humidity. They have a thicker shell or they have a darker shell, and that impedes some of the humidity and the trouble hatching and all that kind of stuff. But some incubators or chicken farmers are finding a lot of success with lower humidity. Now, I'm not gonna turn my humidity all the way down to 13%. First of all, it's way too humid in our house to even get at that level. I'd have to put a dehumidifier in here, but that would impede my other eggs. And so I'm gonna take my chances and incubate them at the same humidity I normally would if I ever get very serious about incubating Morans, and I'll get 12 of them and I will turn the humidity way down. But that's not what I'm gonna do today. All right, so now I've got both of my incubators filled. They are clean and ready to go. Another thing that you need to do is you need to candle every single egg before you get started, and what you're looking for is a hairline crack. if there's a hairline crack, it is very likely that bacteria is going to enter in, and then you are going to get an embryo that dies mid-hatching. So it's worth it to not even try to hatch them because of the problems that it could pass on to the other eggs that are in there. So we're going to do that real quick. This is a good looking egg. There are no hairline cracks. I don't know if you can tell, but I actually have more than 12 eggs in both of these incubators. I have 14 eggs in both of them, and here is why. It is very likely that you will lose a couple of eggs to a couple of different problems. They could be not fertilized, they could be too old, they could begin to develop and then just suddenly quit, develop a red ring. And so by adding a few extra in the early stages, accounting for a certain amount of loss, I give myself the best chance at still having a full incubator. I want the most out of my 21 days, and that is how I get it. Quick, before I sign off, let me show you the little babies that hatched out 2 nights ago. They are so cute. Isn't she sweet? When they are 2 days old, this is a great time to check their wings to see if what you have is a pullet or a rooster. I've made a video on that, and it's quite long because we went through trying to name our birds in that one. So let me give you just a quick and dirty show of how to tell if it's a female or a male. Now, their wings, predominantly most breeds, this is true across the board, but their wings are going to show you whether or not it's a male or a female. Now, looking at that, what we are looking for is to see that the wings, the tiny little individual spokes of that wing, in a female or in a hen, they will be long, short, long, short, long, short. Also, the wing will be shaped long with a lobe at the end of it, and that will be a pullet or a female. In a rooster, the wing will be one long shape without any deviation in that, and all the little spokes will be the same length. So taking another close look at this, I believe we have a rooster. Let me show you again as a close-up. They are all the same size, and we have a elongated wing right here. Now let me get, isn't he beautiful? Let me get a little girl and show you the difference. It's very easy to see the difference. Here's a disclaimer though. There are some breeds whose wing feathers develop much differently than others. So if you are not planning on raising roosters, then I would not cull your herd. Some people grow their chickens and cull their roosters immediately on day 2 because they know they don't want to put the money into feeding them when they're not going to keep a rooster. And it's very difficult to rehome your roosters because almost everybody has too many. But before you cull that bird, just check on the genetics and make sure that you don't have a variety of bird whose wings are a little bit off from the normal. So here you can see that the wing is long and lobed right there. And then take a close look. Let me put it right there. You can see that there are long feathers and short feathers, long and short, long and short. So this is a little hen. If you want to, you can band them so that you know which ones are which and you know which ones to give away for people that want to raise roosters as meat. That's a perfectly fine thing to do. Otherwise, you can just keep them all figured out when they start crowing. In my next video, when everything hatches, let's talk about how to set up a brooder system and give you a great survival rate. Thank you so much for joining in this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell so you don't miss any videos. My honest review of the Kebonnixs is that this is the perfect incubating machine for small homesteaders like myself. I love to be able to incubate 12 eggs at a time because that's a really easy amount of chickens to handle when they're in that little baby stage. Also, I am mostly hatching my own eggs, except for this set. I'm probably not going to buy any more specialty breeds. Listen to me, lying straight out of my mouth. I know I'm going to buy more. It's best to use eggs that are about 7 days old and not much older than that. So in a week, there are times that I might not get much more than 12 depending on the time of year that it is. And so it's easy for me to collect 12 eggs from the chickens that I have. If you were to get really, really big brooders that have 42 slots in them, or goodness, even hundreds of slots, then I assume that you have a huge chicken operation and that you have around 50 birds It's been very reliable for me. I have had 100% hatch rate twice out of the 4 times that I've already used it. And the times that they did not hatch, it was because an egg was not viable and was not fertilized. And then the other times I had 2 chicks that never hatched. They were in the incubator fully, and just for some reason they just never came out of their shell. Keeps the temperature really reliably, and it's very easy to manipulate the humidity according to what you need to do. So I love the Kebonnixs. I recommend this machine for anybody that is curious and trying to get into the chicken hatching game. That's all for today's video, and we'll see you next time. Bye.